Designing, developing, and evaluating the emergency response management user interface platform, presented by Julian Brinkley. Emergency response management systems enable emergency managers to allocate and coordinate resources during a critical incident or emergency. The Emergency Response Management User Interface Platform has been developed as a user interface prototyping and testing tool for ERMS application developers. ERMS UIP enables an effective method of testing EOC resource requisition forms in order to determine which choices of user controls provide the most efficient user interface for the user. The ERMS UIP takes a use case common to emergency response applications, resource allocation, presents a generic user interface designed around this activity, and enables developers to modify the displayed user controls. The goal of the ERMS UIP is to enable developers to evaluate the impact of the use of different controls on the usability of the user interface. System developers can apply this knowledge to the resource allocation process of a production system. ERMS User Interface Platform Prototype has two key features that align directly with the design requirements specified in previous iterations of the current project. These features are also the culmination of a significant amount of research that was done in conjunction with the Alachua County Emergency Operations Center personnel. The system presents an Emergency Operations Center resource allocation user interface, and the system includes a mechanism whereby the user control for this user interface or the user controls for this user interface may be easily changed to support user testing.
So the ERMS user interface platform is an application written in C# using Microsoft's Universal Windows application platform. The application consists primarily of two views. One view that basically presents the user control options that a user can choose from, and the other is the actual resource allocation user interface. Keeping in mind that the goal of the application is to allow user experience developers to basically test different combinations of these controls, and you can see a list of form fields here, but to basically test different combinations of these controls with actual users. So if we select nothing, then the system will basically default to text boxes. So the system will default to text fields. So we can see an asset name, request number, quantity, mission, etc. If we go back and let's say for quantity we select a text box, but for purpose we select a drop down, then the system for the fields that we haven't set anything will default to text boxes, but for the purpose of request, which is a field that we specified, it will actually specify or will actually implement a drop down for that specific field. And basically the same is true for each of these fields. So if we go back and select, we can select any number of different combinations. We can do a map, and these are all context specific, so different options will be available depending upon the type of field. Drop down, radio buttons, and basically it will ultimately produce a user interface with these different controls.
We believe that this new system would easily enable designers and developers of emergency response management systems to easily test different user interface configurations. As a result, we hypothesize that participant perceptions of system usability are greater than an 80 as measured on the System Usability Scale questionnaire. To test this hypothesis, we conducted a traditional usability evaluation in the vein of the work of Jacob Nielsen, i.e. 3 to 5 users will find 80% of usability problems. A single scenario was used where the user is asked to exercise the system by creating different combinations of user controls in 3 tasks. Scenario 1. You're a user experience engineer who is interested in conducting a usability evaluation of the resource allocation functions of your company's newest emergency operations center systems. You'll be using a user interface testing system to evaluate the impact of the use of different user controls on error rates, task times, and general user satisfaction. The user was then asked to complete the 3 configuration tasks using the system.
Set the quantity form field to use a drop down. In the delivery location form field to use a text box. quantity form field to use a drop down, and the delivery location to use a map control. Okay, go back and set the quantity form field to use the text box, and the delivery location to use the text box as well. All done. Thank you.
The System Usability Scale questionnaire, administered at the conclusion of the study's tasks, was used to determine user perceptions of overall system usability. The SUS scores usability on a 0 to 100 scale, 90 plus being an A, 80 plus being a B, 70 plus being a C, with 68 considered average, 60 plus being a D, and 59 and below considered an F. So in terms of our pilot study results, out of our 4 participants, 3 scored the application as being an A, or providing a score of 90 or above, and 1 participant scored the system as a B with a score of 80 to 89. What worked? The system was designed to present an emergency operations center resource allocation user interface and to include a mechanism whereby the user controls for this user interface may be easily changed to support user testing. These features worked well as reflected in the SUS scores from the pilot testing. What didn't work? Nothing. All of the features worked as expected. What did users find confusing? We can comfortably say nothing, as evidenced by the SUS scores, which evaluate system usability. Proposed changes. The system as currently implemented does not show where each field is located in the user interface on the administrative dashboard. In future iterations, the system will be modified to show the actual placement of user controls on the administrative dashboard. The system would also be modified to allow testing of different color combinations and font colors. As you may have noticed, the system uses a lot of black and white, and there's not a lot of styling. That was done intentionally, given that the purpose of the system is to evaluate different user control combinations on the usability of the user interface. In future iterations, we will likely modify this to include the ability to modify colors so that coloration can be used as a factor in the overall usability testing. Conclusion and next steps. A similar system may be developed using the existing ERM UIP as a platform to investigate different user interface configurations for a production emergency response management system. Thank you for watching.